Universal Studios Japan may very well be the best Universal Studios park in the world. Whilst it doesn't have the tram tour or history of Hollywood, or the expansive resort of Orlando, it does feature a great mix of exclusive attractions, spectacular entertainment, and crowd favourites that have been killed off elsewhere in the world. The park even manages to have both Jaws and Harry Potter living together harmoniously. Whilst the language barrier may be daunting to some people, it is easy to see why this park has been voted for the last few years as TripAdvisor's #1 theme park in Japan, and it's definitely worth a visit. Even though our #1 in Japan would still have to be Tokyo Disney Sea. For Review Time, I'm Luke, and this is our review of Universal Studios Japan. Family Rides, 8 out of 10. Universal Studios Japan has a great selection of rides that can be ridden by the whole family, as well as some rides that will be the favourites for any young ones in your family. Now, the main children's rides are contained to a massive section called Universal Wonderland, which features 3 distinct areas filled with some of your children's favourite IPs, including Sesame Street, Hello Kitty, and Snoopy with the rest of the Peanuts characters. This area features a number of off-the-shelf kiddie rides that have some great theming elements to really make them shine. Joining Universal Wonderland is also a huge, recently opened themed area based around Despicable Me, which replaced Back to the Future the ride at this park. Now, this area is filled with Minion Mayhem, a spinner flat ride, and a ton of cute food, drink, merchandise, and photo opportunities. One of my favourite rides in the world, and a perfect stepping stone ride for getting your kids onto bigger, more thrilling attractions, The Amazing Adventures of Spider-Man, is also at the park. Though, luckily I already knew the storyline well, as the ride is completely in Japanese. We also experienced a recently opened Curious George Pepper's Ghost Show, which had some really cool effects, but went completely over our head as Westerners. Thrill Rides, 9 out of 10. There is a great mix of thrill rides throughout the park, including some all-time favourites and a selection of rides exclusive to here. Hollywood Dream the ride is a really great, fun, smooth experience, but Backdrop is even more spectacular and worth the extra wait time in my opinion, even if you just experience it once. This ride also lets you pick your choice of music like Rip Ride Rockit in Orlando. Nothing is better than riding through the park backwards with some Michael Jackson pumping in your ears. My favourite ride has to go to Jaws though. Japan is the only place in the world you can still ride Jaws, and it's still a spectacular experience. Hopefully it is here to stay for a long time. And it's great to see Harry Potter and Jaws living together in the same park. The Flying Dinosaur Coaster is an incredible but overly intense experience that I love, but wouldn't do more than once in a day. But it is a great partner to Jurassic Park River Adventure next door. There is also the same Harry Potter area as most other Universal parks, featuring Hogsmeade, Flight of the Hippogriff, and Harry Potter and the Forbidden Journey. Experiences, 9 out of 10. Universal Studios Japan features a ton of special events that take place throughout the year, including Winter Wonderland and Halloween Horror Nights. Now, the last 2 times I have visited have been during the hotter months of the year, which have featured Japan Cool Summer, which in 2017 featured a really fun Monster Hunter The Real experience, which was like a real-life video game and was a lot of fun, and a completely unique experience for me in a theme park. In 2018 when we went, I also got to ride my first ever VR coaster, which took over Space Fantasy the ride. A really cool experience, but it did give me a bit of motion sickness as I've never felt on a coaster before. Whilst a lot of the special attractions and entertainment throughout the seasons are only offered in Japanese, they are still a completely unique experience I strongly recommend trying. And don't worry if you come in summer, because there's plenty of chances to get wet through our various shows, street parades, and pop-up installations. Entertainment, 8 out of 10. Entertainment for me is what can really make or break a great theme park experience. And I'm happy to say Universal Studios Japan features an amazing selection of shows to see. This park keeps alive its Beetlejuice's Graveyard Review, which is great because it's one of my favourite theme park shows in the world. You can't beat the high energy fun this show provides. and the Japanese version may even be the best one, taking place in a full-scale theater which is a great escape from the summer humidity or the winter chill. Waterworld is also featured here, which is one of the best stunt shows in the world, no matter how tacky the storyline is. There has also recently been a new night parade debut, which is a really great experience. And if you sit in the right areas, the projection mapping on the buildings really does make this experience pop. I can see parades featuring projection mappings on the buildings around the parade route really being the future of parade entertainment. Staff, 8 out of 10. The staff at Universal Studios Japan are great as expected. The people of Japan are incredibly welcoming and friendly and will always try their best to help you out. Their understanding of English seems to be a little less than that at the Tokyo Disney Resort, but it's still easy enough to do everything you need, such as ask for directions, order food, or buy merchandise. Theming, 8 out of 10. The front half of Universal Studios Japan has an almost identical layout to Universal Studios Orlando, featuring the same Hollywood, New York, and San Francisco themed areas, which are all great once you get past the big soundstage style warehouses at the entrance to the park. The Wizarding World of Harry Potter is as spectacularly themed as always, and requires a rather long walk through an area of dense foliage to get to the land, which creates an even deeper sense of immersion. Jurassic Park is also really nicely themed, but unfortunately suffers from having safety nets all over the area now since the addition of Flying Dinosaur, which even makes it hard to get a nice shot of the classic Jurassic Park gate. Merchandise, 7 out of 10. The merchandise here is very clearly designed to appeal to a Japanese market, but I'm sure everyone will be able to find something great to take home and remember their trip with. The merchandise selection is wide and covers a great variety of IPs. Just be aware though that certain items seem to be exclusive to certain stores, so if you see something you want, maybe grab it while you can to save you hunting for it later. This does also, unfortunately, mean that there is not a lot of specific merch for the resort, and more just generic character merch featuring the IPs within the park. You can occasionally find a really nice resort-specific item, but it can often feel like finding a needle in a haystack. Don't worry though, you can get your family any of the abundances of little snack and biscuit packs that seem to be everywhere in Japan. Affordability, 8 out of 10. At first glance, Universal Studios Japan is an incredibly cheap place to visit for the day, with a one-day ticket only costing around $70 US. Of course, as this is a Universal Studios park, you can expect the normal inclusion of Express Pass, though interestingly here they have a ton of different tiers of Express Pass that each allows you to ride certain attractions only once. They do also have a tendency to overestimate wait times, so the Express Pass may not be as needed as you may think at first. Merchandise was also relatively expensive, with things like a simple t-shirt often costing upwards of $40 US. But thankfully food was affordable, allowing you to try out a ton of different food options, even if you're on a budget. Now, one upcharge experience we did purchase was the VIP seating for the brand new night parade, Universal Spectacle Night Parade. This was around $15, but gets you an amazing spot to view the parade and all of the associated projection mapping, and ultimately I feel it was worth the price tag, especially if you only get one chance to see this parade. Also, if you're coming internationally, I would recommend taking advantage of the 1.5 day ticket that is available on some websites such as Klook. This allowed us to get everything done, including many re-rides, at a more leisurely pace. Got us in at 3 PM on the first day, and for the entire day the day after. Atmosphere, 8 out of 10. The park has an awesome atmosphere like most Japanese parks we have visited. The local guests always seem to be having a great time, and that rubs off on you as a guest. Looking around and seeing tons of smiling faces, even when waiting in a massive line, really makes you appreciate how lucky you are to be visiting a theme park and allowing yourself to be absorbed into its world. Just be aware that Japanese guests will wait a long time for almost everything. So if you really want to see a show from a good seat, make sure you grab your spot in the line early. and come prepared to spend a lot of your day standing around in queues. Services, 8 out of 10. Even though most of the shows and attractions are in Japanese, it is easy enough to find your way around and do everything, even as an English-speaking guest. Just be aware that English maps and times guides are only available at Guest Relations, which is on the left-hand side as you enter the park. Guest Relations is also your best bet for finding a team member who speaks fluent English if you ever get stuck. Universal Studios Japan will often also open the gates up around 15 minutes before the advertised opening time. We recommend getting to the gates around an hour before opening and having a game plan for what attractions you want to rush to first. On our last visit, we managed to ride Flying Dinosaur, Spider-Man, Jaws, and Jurassic Park before the park had even been open for an hour by rushing straight to the back of the park first. Final thoughts. Universal Studios Japan is probably my favorite Universal Studios theme park. Though it doesn't have the historical tram tour of Hollywood or the expansive resort of Orlando, it does have a ton of unique experiences that make it a must-visit theme park destination. This park's future is also looking extra exciting, with Universal Studios Japan being the first place in the world to open their Super Nintendo World. Universal Studios Japan gets a final score of 81 out of 100. I'm Luke Carroll, and this is Review Time. Thanks for watching.